Hello and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Katie Romiolo, and today we are talking about how to become a best selling author. This is a topic that is really close to my heart as I have just launched yet another book and leading an amazing group of women through the process. This is quite the transformational process that occurs as you are becoming an author. So I get a lot of questions on where to start, how to publish, where to get your work noticed, how to actually get everything into the space that you're wanting to, if it's a big book or just a chapter. And I'm loving all of your questions. So thank you so very much for dropping them into the link that's in the comments here. We are also filtering in the information on how to really do this with the framework of moon cycles. And yes, I have used this process. I'm going to give you the tips and tools on today to actually create bestsellers in multiple categories. Every single one of the books I have ever collaborated with or written as my solo book, I have used moon phases in the background just to know when I am more energetically charged. When am I in alignment to doing certain activities in regards to writing and publishing and marketing and all of the amazing things that come with it? So, what I first want to back us up to today, though, is a lot of the things that I didn't know when I first got started and how it is that I would maybe start off focusing today, knowing what I know now. So, welcome if you're tuning in live. Thank you so much for joining me. Go ahead and hit subscribe now so you don't miss any of the future content. We are here live and unscripted every single Tuesday at Eastern Standard Time and answering the questions directly from the listeners. So, I love interacting with you. If you're catching this on the replay later on, let me know as well. And hello, if you are listening in on one of our other channels. We are on Apple Podcast as well as Google and Spotify and all of the amazing places too. So let's dive in to some of the things I wish I knew sooner when becoming an author. Now, I'll tell you that back when I first started writing in 2018, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't ever think that I was capable of becoming an author. It wasn't really something that was on my radar in the years prior, but I thought it would be really amazing to share some of the things that I had gone through. Now, at that time in my life, I was just coming out of rock bottom where this incredible transformation had occurred in my life, but in a really difficult way, where everything that I thought that I had ever wanted and was working towards was slowly being stripped away systematically, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why it was that I was doing everything right, in quotation marks, and putting in the effort and having the plan, and it was all crumbling apart. I was having what I like to call my own tower card moment. If you're familiar with tarot and the tower card, this is the moment in time in which it feels like everything is in chaos, everything is crumbling apart, people are dropping out of our lives, things are not working. This tower energy that can be realized during transformational times, often right before a breakthrough, is all about the foundation that has been built is not supporting where it is you actually want to go. So, my energy was the thing that I needed to really address. My intentions for where it was that my purpose in life was actually guiding me towards were not in alignment with the foundation that I had created. The plan, my 3D experience here was not in alignment to where it was that I would eventually end up going. And I didn't know all this because I was not paying attention to my internal cues. I was ignoring my emotions, and there was a lot of chaos at that time in my life. But in 2018, being on the other side of what had occurred for a number of years prior to that, I was at a point where I had finally addressed my social anxiety. And I felt like I really had an interesting story to share. And I'm sure you have an interesting story in you as well. Oftentimes, as heart-led entrepreneurs, coaches, and thought leaders or speakers or whatever the work it is that you do in the world right now, the reason why you were called into offering your products and services is because you experienced a challenge, likely something that you don't want others to go through. There's something that you solve or help in what it is that you do. And that's probably come through your own either big tower card moments yourself or maybe little micro mini towers that have occurred along your journey. And they are worth sharing. They are worth celebrating. They are worth getting out there into the world. So, first off, if you have any kind of little niggle, any kind of little feeling that I would really love to write a book, the answer is yes. The answer is it is for you. And then, if you have any other thoughts that come after that that say, I don't know if I'm capable or good enough, or if my story is interesting, all of those thoughts, anything that comes after that moment of you'd really love to do this, those are all the limiting beliefs that are attached to maybe past experiences that you've had, maybe running stories that have gone on throughout society, things that you've been subjected to. Maybe it's just that good old self doubt that tends to happen when we are stepping into something new. So, the very first thing that I wish I would have known when I started diving into writing my story was that it was going to be a transformational process in itself. The point of me writing was actually this amazing healing journey that each and every story I wrote, every chapter that I wrote, and every book that I ended up going on to write was a part of my story of transformation. Each and every moment of it was another step in my journey that was leading me towards where I think my life purpose was actually always calling me. So, if there's something that is calling you, it is part of your life path. And the longer that you reject that thing that you really want to do, the more difficult sometimes life becomes. This is why I had this huge tower card moment in my own life, was because I had ignored and avoided, rejected all of the things that had been opportunities that I was self-sabotaging because I didn't have any belief in myself. And now that's my own personal story. You may have a lot of belief in yourself. It doesn't have to mean that if you haven't written your story yet, it's not because you have a lot of these, underbelly, deep seated things that are going on. But notice where it's calling you into transformation. The first thing is saying yes, the intention to, I'm going to figure out a way to do this. Because nowadays, the really cool thing about publishing and getting your works out there is there's so many ways to do it. It is not a one size fits all. And you can actually become quite the expert just by searching different ways to get published, to be self published. What are the different formats and medias that you can get your story out there? So, one of the ways that I initially had got my story out there was a co author project where I was able to actually invest in my own process of putting together this publishing piece with a hybrid publisher that helped with a lot of the pieces and then also guided me on things that I was able to do myself. I have absolutely loved learning the process of what to do in the background. And the biggest thing that I would now do differently is to first and foremost focus on what is it that you want the book to do for you in the end? What is it you want your chapter to do for you in the end? Whatever it is that you want and feel inspired to write about, what's the intention behind it? So, yes, likely the very first thing is you've got something you want to share. It's on your heart. You've got a great story. You've got a great message. There's something that's behind that. And I fully believe that you do. The next is, what is that message or that story going to do for either the world or your own personal situation, or maybe your products or your services? I want you to start thinking ahead of time before you even start writing. What is it that your intention is to create this work of art? Because you are seeding the moment that you start writing and walking yourself into that actual reality. And if you don't know where it is that you want to go with the work that you're creating, then it leaves everything open to interpretation of possibly an amazing direction, but possibly also in no direction at all. Because we're just sort of the compass that is spinning around and around. We need direction. We need that North Star to point to. So, first of all, thinking about what do you want the book to do for you? So, in my own life, I knew that the very first time I said yes to writing my story in the book, She's No Longer Silent, was all about my own process of actually getting the words out of my system. I had been conditioned for a long time in my younger years to stay silent, to be quiet, to not have an opinion, to not voice anything that you would disagree with, because it was dangerous to do that in my household. So that really compounded and lived inside of my body and my energy throughout the years. And even if I was no longer in that childhood situation anymore, as an adult, I grew up and started to create my own business and became really anxious in talking to clients and other people, in just regular conversational things, not even really hard, difficult conversations, just regular stuff. It had transfused into me that speaking and sharing and promoting anything to do with myself was a bad thing because it was dangerous. And I didn't know this connection in my mind. It took a lot of unpacking and healing work and, my journey of self-discovery and personal and professional development to get to that point and really understanding the deep connections to it. Why I had social anxiety for me personally was really connected into that fear of what I would say would then cause a very dangerous result. It wasn't true in like 99% of the circumstances I would have ever found myself in. That was not true, but yet it lived in my body as a story that was on repeat that I was continually living by. So, reweaving that story was a big part of writing my chapter in She's No Longer Silent. I wanted to be able to confirm and prove to myself that I could do it, that I could just do the thing that scared me most. I could put my words out there. I could do it with that title of intention. And that was all I needed in that moment. That was the only thing that I needed for that book to do with me. So that intention alone actually grew into another intention where I had so much incredible feedback from that chapter and other people resonating with the fear component, having held me captive for so long, and others seeing themselves in that story and how fear really has this hold, this stranglehold on a lot of us in different ways in life. And it was a relatable sense of the fear. So, what ended up happening was then an opportunity to really write the entire story of what happened during that rock bottom stage in my life. This is an incredible story of a lot of things that I wouldn't even believe myself that occurred in that time unless I had lived it. And I started writing it out thinking, okay, I need to get this out of me because some of these things I'm not even going to remember later on. I kind of did it like a journal. And you may have journals of experiences and things that you've gone through as well that you think would be an amazing story one day. Keep doing that. Hang on to those journals. Get it out. Because the second thing that I really wish that I had knew earlier was that it's the hardest thing that you're going to do in writing a book is actually committing to writing the book. It's not about all the steps to publishing and finding all of the right people to support and the marketing and everything that you might think about later on. It actually is this process of letting yourself actually write the story. Many people get stuck along the way and not actually get all of the words out because there's these old stories that run within us and they're all different and you're unique and your experience has been unique. But whatever it is that stops you, if there's anything that stops you, whatever it is, it's time to start looking at when you sit down to write something, what gets in the way. You don't have to have everything perfect before you're going to explore your options. The number three thing that I think is super important to be focusing on first as well is the title and the cover. Now, a lot of times these things tend to come afterwards when you're done writing and you go into the context and see what it is that resonates most with what you've written. But here's the big thing that I didn't know ahead of time was that remember that intention, that first thing. What do you want this book to do for you? When you decide what that is, that has now got to be connected to what your title and your cover looks like. Because the biggest thing that is going to draw others to you and to want to pick up that book and to become that amazing bestseller is the visuals, is that connection. So you want to make sure that the reason why that you're writing the book and what your story is for and who it is that you want to call in to read it, that that particular person is going to be attracted to your title and to your imagery. So you can think about this at any time. You could literally start with the step one and step three without having even written anything in the center of that step two. You can think about first, even right here, right today, you can pause this and think about what is it that I want my story to do? What is my mission in life here? And your mission doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming thing that you got it. It can be small moments that you grow into. Your mission in life can change and evolve as you do as well. So, right now, in this moment, what is your mission? What is it that you want to do in the next 6 months? Where is it that you want to be? What kind of change do you want to create in the world? How do you want to do better for maybe your own personal life or your family or your kids? What is it that you personally want in this moment? Because that is your mission right now to pay attention to. And so, how is it that writing your story or writing a book or becoming a best selling author would support your mission at this very moment? Maybe it is that you're a coach and you also work with others who you want to help transform their lives and heal that old story and help others move into an amazing space. Maybe you had your own transformational story and you want writing your story of what you've gone through to help others. Maybe you already offer services that are catering to that particular niche of individual who has gone through that same kind of struggle that you want to help them get to the other side of. Start thinking today as you write that story, as you connect into that person that maybe you're already working with in some degree. How is it that you want to call them forward even more into that journey? Where is your book going to take them? What's on the other side of that? And how can you meet them exactly where they are now? So think about the person that's going to pick up your book and what they're going to get out of it. What is it that they are going through in this very moment that's going to also attract them into that title? Is it a question? Is it a how to? Is it a framework? What is the thing that is very specific to what it is that you're going to speak into throughout the book? The title is really super important. The visuals, does it capture and convey the person that you want to connect with? Will they resonate with it? And the really interesting thing about this whole visuals of your cover that I kind of learned the hard way is it's not actually about you loving the cover. It's not actually about the imagery being exactly what it is that you resonate with and you think is beautiful. The reason is you are actually probably on the other side of what it is that you've written about. If you're writing, say, for example, your transformational story. So maybe that imagery that resonates with you is actually resonating with that part of you that's already on the other side. You're at the end of the story for that particular book. But maybe the you that started at the very beginning of that book, even writing your story, or who it was that you would have been that wanted to receive the information that you now know, what did they need to see? What would they have resonated with? What were they going through? What was that version of you at that time in your life? And you're constantly always evolving into another version as you learn and grow and have these lessons and learnings and step into your business. And going back and putting yourself into that spot is an amazing way to really connect into the reader before you've even exchanged any information on a page. So, paying attention to those three things will help you the most. After that, you're going to get into your researching of who it is that's going to help you get into being published and getting your marketing pieces out there. But some of the pieces that I'm going to give you for the framework here that you can follow along with as you're doing this are four main moon phases. And I like to focus as I teach this with Moonlogic, the four main phases, because it gives us about a week in time, each and every phase, so that we can really sink that into our neurology. We can really allow for the actions and intentions to be realized rather than constantly focusing on something new as we've got this change and shift of energy occurring almost daily, really. So the first phase that you're going to really pay attention to, and you're going to do this as a framework with your moon cycles here, is our new moon phase. So the new moon is when you're going to start thinking about all of these things, pondering the questions that I've asked you here today. What is the intention for what you want to do with this book? Who is it you want to call in to read? What would your title maybe be? And daydreaming some of the images and doing a vision board maybe for what your cover would look like. That is an amazing thing to do during your new moon phase. After that comes your first quarter moon phase. That's when you're going to get to work and you're going to start actually writing out. Maybe it's through journaling, maybe it's through brainstorming. This is your writing phase. Allow for your first quarter to start getting out all of the things to do. Make some checklists on stuff that you have ideas about. Start doing a formatting or framework, connecting with somebody, maybe a coach, to give you some more insights on how it is that maybe you can get some book copyright coaching. There's lots of different things. This is your doing energy in the first quarter. Allow it to be all about the getting it done. And if you're noticing that those feelings of, I don't know if I can do this, start coming up, then it is in perfect timing and it is for a reason, because you will then hit the full moon phase after that, which is all about flushing out all of the things that are getting in the way. Any reasons that feel like why you can't do something, this is now your time period to actually reflect on them, to see if you need some additional resources, services, and maybe even healing modalities to move you through that transformational process of what it is that you're doing and putting yourself out there. So allow for that time period to start integrating the emotions around writing, because they will happen regardless of the stage that you're in. Even as myself, as a multiple best-selling author, I still have an integration of emotions anytime that I am writing something new. So allow that to be your period in which you will do that. After that, you're going to move into the third quarter moon energy, which is all about adjustments and feedback. So, this is where you're maybe going to go back and review what you've written so far and see if you're on track to what it is that you're wanting to hit as your goal. What is your intention? Going back to that, allowing for it to be the time period that you are further integrating everything that you've now maybe created over the last number of weeks, and just going into that feedback phase for maybe someone that's a trusted resource, and allowing for yourself to only share with people that are going to be supporting you in that journey. It's not about sharing everything that you're doing with everyone until you have a very firm, concrete sense of continuity in what you're doing. And there's always a bit of vulnerability in writing. So allowing yourself to only share in the moments of feedback with people that are truly your people, right? People that you know that are going to have that, yes, yes, here's where I see some constructive pieces that, maybe you can work towards, but here's where I really encourage you. And allow that to be where you find a safe space of people that you can communicate with during that time to make any adjustments, work with an editor, things like that during your third quarter moon phase. So I hope this was helpful for, today. Let me know in the comments if you have written a story or if you are thinking about it and what it is that maybe your intentions are. Start planting them here in the energy in which we're creating. And join us in the community. I absolutely love interacting with you here. Thank you for joining us live. And I am back every Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead again and hit the subscribe so that you don't miss any of the future videos or uploads. And I will catch you all soon.